Modern-day China is known for its wet market-based economy, plastic-filled wontons, desire to forcibly mate with independent island nations, and communism. Thankfully, we're not in modern-day China. No, in the Warhammer 3 universe, our China is a capitalist wet dream filled with secure borders and gun-loving American weebs whose favorite pastime is showing furries how Canada's euthanization process works. At least it will be by the time we're done with it. So after the longest loading screen, second only to Rust, we get a rousing speech from our glorious leader, and I get a crash course in ancient Chinese politics. Turns out it's all directional based. Don't tell England, or this compass will wind up in an Oxford museum faster than you can say God save the Queen. Now normally I'm a historical Total War enjoyer, but for some reason they're not as popular as Warhammer. Maybe because Caesar never talked about going out with the boys on a glorious wah. Be a lot cooler if he did. To transform this poor nation, which has a grand total of 0 McDonald's, into a capitalist powerhouse, we begin by establishing trade with our future subjects. We also hire a caravan to turn money into more money through the means of wizard shit, essentially turning a man with a silly hat into a countdown-based money printing machine. Like any budding capitalist wannabe state, our first hurdle is suppressing the native populations. Our dragon goddess Mao Ying crushes the field army of the rebel lords of Nanyang, and we move into their city of Nanli. Our glorious leader Mao Yang, also known as the Storm Dragon, not only has a chest flatter than Palestine, but she also has the ability to turn into a storm dragon. If I had to guess, I'd say that's where she got her nickname. She's a grower, not a shower. But even when not in danger noodle form, Ming Yang is a verifiable powerhouse, unleashing the pent-up aggression born from millennium of uncountable peasant girl abortions. Actually, it's China's greatest export. With our first city under our belt, we're able to begin true Americanization. No, not obesity. It's the creation of firearms. I can smell the freedom now. We received the first quest in our bid to secure our borders. You see, once this bar at the top fills up, waves of undocumented migrants will Naruto run straight at our walls in an attempt to illegally cross over with an untold amount of unknown contraband inside their rectums. True terrorists. To stop that from happening, we'll need to confederate the current holders of the 3 wall gates, in this case, starting with California. Then I thought I'd try and get Ming Pao an assistant to the Dragon Lord by hiring a hero, but due to my past hobby of watching CNN, which caused my brain to melt faster than a Western Polish man at a lolicon anime convention, I accidentally hired a lord instead. So now we'll just consider it an investment in our security and treat them as our new immigration enforcement officers, giving them the job of guarding our soon-to-be border wall, checking the prison pockets of all who would dare to cross into the land of COVID and dumplings. The next 2 rebel scum hideouts fall faster than Tower 7 on a slightly breezy day, and our caravan comes under attack by an obese man who wanted to taste our meat, but he was no match for our desire to roleplay as Scrooge McDuck, and was promptly defeated. Now we're on to the final holding of the rebel lords. We begin by employing the tactics of the ATF by knocking their door down and firing blindly through their walls. But we can't forget about Ming Bang, who can just fly over their walls and start eating their army like an afternoon snacky. With their gate destroyed, our units on the high ground, and Yao Ming slurping down every dude in sight, like a prostitute during the Great Depression, we achieved a prompt victory. Just in time to celebrate the destruction of the indigenous population, our caravan that was visiting people who have the metabolism of a crackhead on heroin has completed, giving us a few schmeckles and von Karstein's blade, which when given to Mao Ting will passively heal her for the duration of Sideways 8. Now our scaly succubus will be even more unstoppable. While infinite health dragon women are good, extortion, you could argue, is better. So we extort our neighbors by offering them military access in exchange for money. It's not much, but just like with measuring cock length, every millimeter counts. Oh, I also found Lizzo's butthole. Moving on. And now, thanks to Gordon Ramsay taking a job with Walter White's Meals on Wheels, we can start chucking out guns filled with that sweet, sweet powder. That's right, gunpowder, baby. 2 Master Chef's concoctions of pure freedom powder. So much freedom my cervix is ripening, giving birth to another trade caravan. And we'll use those profits to get more profits, to get more profits, to get... Well, you get the idea. You gotta spend money to make money, and sometimes even spend the lives of your loyal followers. It's fine though. They were probably poors. We now had a freedom stack so potent not even El Chapo could snort it. Speaking of El Chapo, let's hire another drug mule. I mean caravan. But as it turns out, only one can be active at a time. So I just hired another Chinese man for the sole reason of gazing longingly into his eyes. Looks like freedom. And you know who hates freedom? That's right, furries. You can tell because they always chain themselves up before discovering 49 other shades. And these rat furries are no exception. You can tell because they just declared war on us. Little do they know that the Chinese will eat anything and everything up to and including gas station sushi. So some rat pussy would be considered a delicacy. Now our ferocious freedom stack of 2A advocates will be guided by the supreme whirly-doo to slay these filthy tunneling miscreants. But it's a long journey, and war ain't cheap, so more extortion it is. Man, if I keep this up, I'll be an average creative assembly employee. Yeah. Give me another $40 DLC. That gives 2 new factions, you blood-sucking vampires. It's like CA and Paradox are in a competition to see who can be the biggest shitbag. But damn it, that's capitalism, baby! Smells like, well, poverty. Anyway. We force our way of life onto yet another faction and take over another border crossing. People don't like it when you confederate others, but just like the crimes of politicians, it's quickly forgotten about. So we'll move to this hobo encampment and root out the orgy of furries. Wow, I haven't seen that many furries since Biden's Easter brunch at the White House. The carpets were covered in post-blowjob hairballs. It was truly a sight to behold. When being set upon by a massive wave of horny furcon goers, you're pretty much guaranteed a horrible death by red rocket-induced penetration. But luckily for us, we have the furries' greatest weakness, a small puddle of water. Yes, once their fursona fursuits get wet with the glue holding their anal beads on, will start to degrade, causing them minor discomfort, but just enough for us to pull out our own red rocket and penetrate ourselves a victory. Say goodbye to your rat mommy milkies, bitch. Thanks to our kiddie pool, no pun intended. We show these rodents the power of starving, impoverished Chinese peasants. That's one more city for us, and one less Deathmaster snitch. Oh, and a juicy bit of money, honey. Now, I didn't realize it at the time, but when we had our first confederation, I matched with this guy on Tinder. Cat with a mighty mallet like that sliding into my DMs. Oh, Bubba. He's the type of man to rock upper and lower deckies ins. A real man. How'd I miss that? But he'll now join the neighborhood watch as our smuggling operators slay a Lizzo role player. Now, if I may turn your attention to our top bar, you will see that it is quite full. This means that those immigrants will try and rush down our beautiful wall soon. What would Trump do? I mean, besides grabbing their pussies. How about boosting our GDP? Smells like apples, oddly enough. They're great, and they're huge. Since we only control 2 out of 3 gates, some post-op gender-changed reprobates snuck into our lands. I think it's time old Ping Tao hit them with the Abu Ghraib waterboarding special. Well, it's not waterboarding if you use dragon spunk. But we sent him a strongly worded letter asking politely to leave our lands. He said no, but the furries paid us protection money to stop the extermination of their kind. So that's a win for the moment. Now then, back to the hormone homies. After running away from our joint task force, little homie decides to sneak up behind us with a guerrilla-style ambush maneuver. When you roleplay as the Viet Cong, sometimes it doesn't go as planned. In this case, he got his shit pushed in, and we stole his schmeckles as war reparations. The great attack was bearing down on our shitty walls. More dudes and the amount of intro screens to load into this damn game. So many intro screens, there's even a mod to remove them. GG, Creative Assembly. GG. But in the meantime, we find another match on Grindr and confederate our southbound homies. They're a little far from our borders, but once we finish the Canadian maid service on these furries, we'll be together again. Why all of a sudden do I have 5 Chinese guys? I swear I didn't purchase all these Chinese guys. Maybe the Chinese don't reproduce normally. They just kind of, morph into more Chinese guys, like some sort of wonton eating amoeba. Infinite Chinese guy hack acquired. No wonder there's 5 trillion of them. What's the best way to deal with illegal immigrations? That's right, heavy-handed deportation. I'm separating all of the women and children. We catch up to another group of them who had just raided one of our cities, and we show them the meaning of the word freedom as we take their own freedom. We then take another crossing point into Chinese territory and sally out against our transient invasion. One day all shall fear the awesome power of the TSA. No butthole shall go unchecked. Anyway, we'll pick up a research to improve our firearms damage by a tasty, salty little 20%, making our sticks of freedom even more American. My previous Tinder match defends the final wave of immigrants, and our top bar loses its boner, at least for the time being. Now, let's secure the 3rd and final border crossing and free it from these terrorist scum.
Stop these terrorist killers. Now watch this drive.
All we have to do is put Fox Little Ling Ling on a wall and send Fao Yang in through the gate as our row upon row of lead-slinging badasses attain the high ground. Our Dragon Queen's so good she didn't even need to fully erect. So with our overwhelming firepower, we sustained minimal losses and captured the final border crossing. Now no rectum shall go unchecked when crossing into our borders. Smells like security. And swamp ass. But at least for now, northern China is safe, secure, and unified. It may be time to look south again and revisit our furry friends, who've been spending their time squatting in derelict abandoned cities. For this, we'll up our GDP of freedom to increase our levels of hell yeah, brother, by creating sniper rifles and cannons. If you thought our guns were overly oppressive before, well, bubba, you ain't smelled nothing yet. Clearing some room from our freedom stack, we can fill the rest of our ranks with our new reach out and touch ya boys, just in time for our 20% damage increase research to complete, and our capitalist smuggling operations to add a little heft to our pockets. We can now load up Grindr again and ask Qian Hu to become our bae by joining our confederation. I've yet to meet a man alive who can resist the natural sex appeal of your bottom bitch Tao Ming, so that's another easy hookup in the books. That wraps up the northern provinces, and now we'll just have a large amount of homeless encampments to clear out. And if there's one thing freedom lovers enjoy, it's displacing the homeless. Since our powerhouse of a woman Ling Dao would be moving south, we also bolstered up our neighborhood watch to ensure a secure border. That means we gave them bigger guns, of course. My collection of men in silly hats grew again. The Chinese amoeba men just can't be stopped. Even bunnies are jealous of how fast they reproduce. Now, looking back, I can only assume that whenever I hook up with random men in the back alleys, I not only get their cities and armies, but also herpes. I mean, their caravans. But we'll just continue to spread our herpes across the land and pine about the fact that I can only send out one at a time. If there's a way to do more than one caravan, I don't know what it is. And these Lizzo impersonators don't know when to stop fucking with my silly hat boys.
How many times do we have to teach you this lesson, old man?
With a quest granted to spay and neuter our southern furries given, we'll identify the infestation and move our special freedom units to conquer them. For as we all know, more cities means more GDP. And these poor bastards won't be crizzing up the bitches anymore. Shame. Our Western brothers from another mother begin moving on the furry convention as well, and I'm given the option to poison some monkeys, which is the most Chinese thing I've ever seen. It was finally time to make our extermination campaign official by posting about it on Facebook, and this prompted the start of the Skaven conflict. We caught our boy Infectique out in the open, and will now give him a master class in how noise tubes do stuff, because as we all know, the only way to deal with a horde of horny furries is to shoot him in the face. So we open up with our massive amounts of freedom power, turning these rats into their favorite snack, Swiss cheese. They now have more holes in them than the costume of a furry prostitute. I'm talking more glory holes than the bathroom stalls at a fur con. But one hole that won't be filled on this day is our scaly dragon Dussy. The match is over before our reinforcements even arrive. Just goes to show, we don't need these antiquated pokey boys. No. Not when you're huffing 69 different kinds of canned freedom, bitch. And now that's what I'd call a successful slaughter. The ATF at Waco couldn't have done any better. It's basically just bullying at this point. Like tying up the quiet kid and pulling his pants down. Well, we just gotta hope we finish this campaign before he brings his dad's gun to school. Unfortunately, our target city was captured by our rival bros, so we'll have to move to our other transient targets. I don't know why, but only fatties ever attack our Uber Eats drivers, but since it's basically free money, I won't be complaining. We'll just call it the Chinese weight loss special. More hobos get an eviction notice, and we get an offer to throw some cats down a well, which now tops the most Chinese thing I've seen in this game. Since I, for one, love my furry feline friends, I'll just ignore them, sparing them from becoming just another snack at our local wet markets. And we get another cool $5 grand from our delivery drivers, boosting our beloved GDP even more. Remember, boys, with capitalism, anything is possible. So we keep the gravy train rolling, edging us ever closer to a glorious dynastic finish. Now in a race with the western provinces to claim more furry pelts and take the city of Kunlan, boosting our economy and lining our pockets with a quest completion. Then our chat of a man that is Ming Fan annihilates the ginormous orgy of rat boys, solidifying the second to last holdout city, which now give Ping Lao a chance to finish off the final furry fortress. Unfortunately, the rats hold Obi-Wan's favorite location, next to the city for ants. But seeing as how I've gone undefeated my entire life in Stratego, my strategy, Bubba, cannot be stopped. So anyway, we start blasting. And the Dragon Queen gives the fleeing rats a crisp high five. And look at that. With the power of freedom, we only lost 2 bros. Smells like bacon. Rat bacon. With that, the furry menace is now extinct, and mainland China is now secure. Just goes to show that when you have an immigration problem, just shoot them all in the face. With the power of freedom, we sit comfortably as the strongest, baddest bitch in the land. So using our military might and the threat of violence, we do what America does best and extort weaker nations for money. I don't care who they are or what they do, I just want their money. But when you're a world powerhouse, it's only natural that those less fortunate will want a slice of your pie. As you can see by our favorite top bar, that time for us is now. But my friends, when the top global military powerhouse wants someone killed, they don't do it themselves. Oh no. And when they're the ultra top dogs, they don't even have to pay for it. This is the true power of capitalism. When you're so rich and mighty, your enemies just poof, stop existing. Easiest terrorist attack of my life, boys. And the money just doesn't stop piling in. If I could, I'd become even more corrupt to gain even more money. But maybe one day, I'll get that chance. And that chance is right now. Our errand boys are met with a gang of fatties so massive that even our retard strength may not stop them. So in an effort to keep our precious source of money printing alive, we sacrifice a few peasants. Well, I mean, what are a few meaningless lives worth when it comes to more money, really? Okay, now this is the most Chinese thing I've seen in this game. Hands down. Can't be topped. This is it. Even perks up old Ping Ming's mosquito bits. Just a little bit. Mosquito bits, mosquito bites. That's the one. I haven't mentioned this, but one of the best things about our IBTC card-holding queen is that she has reduced army cost for these ranged units. Meaning all of this glorious freedom-loving gun, smoke-popping, boomstick blasting badass boys only cost us 564 gold per turn. Bubba, if that's not the true broken power of capitalism, baby, I don't know what is. So the Chinese border is safer than ever. Our army simply cannot be stopped. Mao Fing grew at least 3 cup sizes, and our GDP is higher than ever. I'd say that we've successfully brought a beautiful capitalist American way of life to these poor, impoverished Chinese peasants. So with my mission here basically being completed, at least as much as my functioning autistic brain can handle, I think it's high time I return to a simpler, better, and far more fun time. Smells like a way better game. Come on, Caesar, let's go get that wah!
Can't you see I'm blazing? Still my heart is blazing. If the words kill me, I don't need a